Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm talking about the books that I read in March 2022. Okay, admittedly I didn't read an awful lot, but did I try and just scram in a load of audiobooks at the end to get my numbers up? Maybe. So the first book that I had the absolute pleasure of reading and kicked off March to such a good start for me was this book, 6 Days by Dani Atkins. So this is actually a proof copy that was sent to me by the publisher, Head of Zeus, and honestly, my book to a T, I loved it so much. It really reminded me of a book that I recently read, The Ends of the Earth by Abby Greaves. In that book, her husband goes missing, she stands outside Ealing Station with a sign saying, "Come home, Jim," and it's kind of a romance, kind of an adventure, what happened to Jim. And in this one, it's really similar. So a groom doesn't turn up to the wedding, and the bride is adamant that he wouldn't just leave her at the altar. Everyone else is telling her to basically get over it and move on, but she is determined to find out what happened to him because she doesn't believe he'd leave. Again, similarly to The Ends of the Earth by Abby Greaves, this is written by Gemma's point of view, the main character, and the narrative switches between the present day, where she's trying to find out what happened to her husband, and then back in the past when they're kind of first meeting, gone on their first date. I'm going to try and not say any spoilers, but I absolutely loved Finn Douglas, and I was like, I want one of him in my life. I posted a video after I finished it, like the minute after, and was just like crying my eyes out, like happy tears, and I was just like, this book was perfect. Like, I cry a lot, but this book really did make me cry. The pace was perfect for me. I get quite bored if it's quite slow paced, but it was just perfect. It kept you hooked, really intrigued from the very beginning. And honestly, the last few chapters were so intense. I was so hooked. I was reading it on the train and almost missed my stop because I was so hooked. I hadn't even realised that I'd spent like 45 minutes on the train. It just went so quickly. So this comes out in April 2022. That's 6 Days by Dani Atkins, and I will be recommended this for a while. The next book I read was also a proof. This is Mental as Anything, The Collective by Budge. So this is from a new kind of like startup publisher called Integrity Media, and I do have mixed feelings about this. Initially, I didn't really know what I was going in. I knew it was kind of about mental health, and that really kind of like intrigued me. The blurb on the back was quite vague, and I think that was quite intentional. It's basically about the author's life living with mental illness. And as I was going through, it wasn't how I was expecting it to. It really read like fiction. In a way that can be really engrossing, but sometimes I was thinking, you know, how much of this is recollected properly, how much of this would he have actually remembered from these conversations, and it turned into a massive dialogue. I felt that it wasn't going anywhere and that these people were just sat in a pub having a conversation. However, when I got to the end, try not to include any spoilers, I realised everything and it kind of switched. And I wasn't expecting there to be a twist in something that's non-fiction, but it was a really powerful message, and I think that really, it was obviously on purpose, but I think initially I was thinking, oh, I'm not enjoying this, and then it got to the end and I was like, okay, that was clever. So that was Mental as Anything, The Collective by Budge. As I said, it's from a new startup company called Integrity Media, so check them out. I'll leave all the details down below. Now, I then moved on to something a little bit different, and that's kids' books. I moved on to Jane Foster's Brown Bear series. Brown Bear Goes to London and Brown Bear Goes to the Museum. I don't know if I can count this as books I've read this month, but I'm going to count it. Similarly, I also read One Tiny Dot by Lucy Rowland. These are kids' books. They literally probably took me 5 minutes to read, but I just wanted to mention these because these are adorable books. I have the pleasure of working on them at Body Books UK, so I really recommend for anyone like 3 years or under. And now, I don't know about you, but do you read books at the same time? So like 2 books on the go, 3 books on the go? Because I never used to be like this. I was very much read one book, finish it, start a new one, because I would get confused. And then probably last year I started realising that I could read a fiction and a non-fiction at the same time because I wouldn't get confused between characters, for example. And I feel like I've definitely been doing that this month. So the next few that I'm about to talk about, I'm actually currently reading. I haven't finished any of them because I've kind of picked them up at different stages. First one I really haven't read an awful lot of at all. I think I've probably read 10 to 20 pages. This is You Make a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. This was given to me, it's a proof, it was given to me by Faber Books, and need I say more? Yeah, stunning cover. Again, I can't really say an awful lot, I'm only 10 pages in, but I will let you know in my next roundup. So then I moved on to audiobooks. So the first one I'm currently reading and started first is Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before by Dr. Julie Sykes. I've actually seen this a lot on Instagram and on Twitter, and then I saw it in Waterstones as well, and it's really grown big, so I thought, okay, I don't want to miss out on this bit of FOMO. So I picked it up as an audiobook. I think it helps reading it as an audiobook, and to be honest, the audiobooks that I like listening to are non-fiction. They're about self-awareness, they're about self-help, about spirituality, that kind of stuff. I feel like I've got mixed opinions on it at the moment. I think that there's nothing that new to me at the moment that's come, but I mean, so for someone that's been in therapy for many years and has read countless self-help books, I can always vouch for the fact that there'll always be one thing that I hadn't discovered before. And so there have been a couple of things so far that I haven't heard of, but I think just from my experience, there's some things on there that I I know and I've heard many times before. The thing is with these kind of audiobooks, I feel like it doesn't really matter that much because it's nice just to have in the background when you're tidying your room, when you're sitting on the train, and it's kind of a reminder thing. It's these kind of books that you can just listen to over and over again. It doesn't really matter that you've listened to it before. It's kind of like drilling it into your brain. I will say as well that Dr. Julie Sykes is obviously accredited, so she's a psychologist or psychotherapist, so all of her knowledge and the written word has come from experience and expertise and her working with clients before. So it kind of, what I said is it kind of validates the advice that's given because you know it's come from years of experience and education. Unfortunately, I will say, just because of what I've said before, I did find it a little bit slow paced and sometimes a little bit cringe. I wouldn't say don't read it, I would just say like I've probably read or listened to a few things better. I haven't quite finished it yet, I'm near the end, but yeah, that's my opinion on it so far. And then the next book that I'm also listening to is not actually on Audible or anything yet. I've been giving a sneak listen. It's Malin Andersson's Positivity is Our Superpower. So if you don't know who Malin Andersson is, I actually started following her because she had really motivational captions. She unfortunately lost her baby a few years ago, and she kind of talks about trauma on her Instagram. So that's the way that I discovered her. But then I recently found out that she was on Love Island in, I think, 2016 I think it was, which is like a UK dating show. So she has become like an influencer, so she's got quite a high profile, and this is her book about dealing with trauma, about dealing with self-love, and I'm finding it really interesting so far. I have really gotten into autobiographies lately. I find it so fascinating that everyone has a completely different life, a completely different background, even if they have similar experiences. And I just find her really motivational. I think she speaks with complete honesty. For example, with Love Island, she says that did propel her career. She tells you exactly what it's like inside the villa. And she has been through a lot. Like it says basically in the first couple of chapters, all the things that she's had to go through, and which is horrible for someone to have experienced so much. But the whole point of the book is her turning it into something positive, which I admire an awful lot. I think she sort of said in the beginning as well, this isn't going to be in chronological order, there's going to be an order of that it comes to me of importance, and so sometimes it kind of flips back to something she's talked before about Love Island or the baby loss or her mother, and I find that keeps me quite engaged because it's not that kind of this is what happened as a child, then the teens, then an adult, so it kind of keeps it engaging. So I'm a few chapters in and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's read by Malin herself, which impacts the listen greatly, and thank you to Hay House for letting me have this kind of like early listen. I'm pleased to say as well that I am joining the blog tour for this, so I can share my thoughts with you all properly then. So they are all the books that I read in March 2022 or currently reading or listening to. I'd love to know which ones you've read, which ones you're most interested in. Have you got any of these on your list? Let me know in the comment section down below, and hopefully see you in the next one.